Secret adult stories from ancient Egypt. The truth is, ancient Egypt was far less innocent than school textbooks often make it seem. We are used to hearing about pyramids, mummies, pharaohs, and mysterious gods. But behind those familiar images was a world filled with desire, love, fertility, magic, and power. Even in their creation myths, sexuality stood at the beginning of everything. The god Adam was said to have brought the first divine pair into existence through an act of self-pleasure. To the ancient Egyptians, sex was not shameful. It was part of how the universe was born and how life continued. Here are 10 secret adult stories from ancient Egypt. Some are supported by archaeological evidence, while others survive only as famous legends. Together, they reveal something fascinating: how this ancient civilization understood sex, the human body, and the deep connection between desire and power. 1. The Egyptians worshipped a fertility god depicted with an erect phallus. Min was one of the oldest gods in ancient Egypt, worshipped as far back as the pre-dynastic period. In thousands of temple reliefs, he was shown with an erect phallus, a powerful symbol of fertility, male vitality, and the abundance of the land. This was not a forbidden image hidden away in secret chambers. Quite the opposite. Statues and carvings of Min were displayed openly in major temples, especially in Coptos and Akhmim. Every year, the Egyptians celebrated the Festival of Min, a public ceremony filled with processions and rituals in which the pharaoh took part, affirming not only his own reproductive power, but also the fertility and prosperity of the entire kingdom. To the ancient Egyptians, sexuality was not separate from religion or agriculture. It was sacred, part of the natural cycle of life, harvest, death, and rebirth. 2. The bold legend of Cleopatra and the first sex toy. One famous legend claims that Cleopatra once asked her servants to hollow out a small gourd, place live bees inside it, and use their movement to create vibration. This story has never been proven. It belongs more to folklore than to confirmed history. Yet the real archaeological evidence is just as fascinating. Across ancient sites, researchers have found objects with erotic or fertility-related shapes, including a stone object shaped like male genitalia, discovered in a cave in Germany, and dated to around 28,000 years ago. Whether Cleopatra's bee-powered device was real or merely a myth, the story reveals something important. Cleopatra has always been remembered as a daring and seductive figure, a woman whose intelligence, charisma, and personal allure captured the attention of both Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. 3. Sex with a dead body, one of ancient Egypt's strangest religious myths. In one of the most famous myths of ancient Egypt, the god Set murders his brother Osiris, cuts his body into pieces, and scatters them across the land. Osiris's wife and sister, the goddess Isis, searches for every missing part of his body but cannot recover his genitals, which, depending on the version of the myth, had been swallowed by a crocodile or a fish. So Isis uses magic to fashion a replacement from clay, bringing Osiris back to life just long enough to conceive a child, Horus, the god who would later become the symbol of kingship and divine power. To modern ears, this sounds strange, but to the ancient Egyptians, its meaning was profound. Sex was not only about creating new life, but also a bridge between death and rebirth, a force that could transform a broken body into the future of royal power. 4. The ancient Egyptian love and fertility calendar. Around 1600 BC, the Egyptians created a papyrus calendar, now kept in Turin, based on the cycles of the moon. It was not merely a tool for tracking lunar phases. It was also believed to guide couples toward the most favorable times to make love, using the positions of celestial bodies almost like a personalized love calendar. No one today can prove whether this system worked, but it reveals something fascinating. More than 3,600 years ago, the Egyptians were already connecting the movements of the sky with the most private parts of human life, and intimacy was not always left to chance. 5. Ancient love potions. Fertility was one of the greatest concerns in ancient Egyptian life, so remedies meant to awaken desire were treated as an important part of sexual health. What makes this even more surprising is that these prescriptions were not random. Astrologers could examine a couple's zodiac signs and recommend specific herbs believed to suit their bodies and temperaments. One of the most popular ingredients was the Egyptian blue lotus, a flower believed to heighten excitement, pleasure, and sensual experience. So whether someone was a passionate Scorpio or a grounded Taurus, ancient Egyptians may have had a personalized astrological remedy prepared just for them. 6. Birth control from 4,000 years ago. The Kahun papyrus, dated to around 1800 BC, is considered one of the oldest surviving medical texts on gynecology. Remarkably, it records several methods intended to prevent pregnancy. Some recipes involved mixing naturally acidic ingredients with plant fibers or cloth to form a barrier. From the perspective of modern chemistry, a few of these substances may actually have had a mild sperm-inhibiting effect. Other formulas sound far stranger, including mixtures made with crocodile dung, also used as a physical barrier. As unusual as these methods may seem today, their existence tells us something important. Actively tried to control fertility through observation and practical medical knowledge. 7. The pregnancy test using wheat and barley. According to Papyrus Berlin 3038, when an ancient Egyptian woman suspected she was pregnant, she would urinate on 2 bags of seeds, one filled with wheat and the other with barley, over several days. If the seeds sprouted, it was taken as a sign of pregnancy. Surprisingly, a 1963 study published in Medical History tested this ancient method and found that urine from pregnant women could in fact make seeds germinate faster. It may sound like superstition, but hidden inside it was something remarkably close to scientific observation. This also tells us something important about the role of women in ancient Egypt. Women were not entirely pushed aside when it came to fertility and family life. They could divorce, own property, and were legally protected in ways that were unusual for many ancient societies. 8. Erotic art. When the Egyptians knew how to laugh about sex through the remains of ancient Egypt, and you may find something both fascinating and surprisingly bold. The Egyptians were not afraid to portray sensuality. From passionate scenes on tomb walls to suggestive sculptures and fertility objects, erotic imagery appeared in many forms, with artists portraying nudity, intimacy, and romantic gestures with an openness that might still make modern viewers blush. The Turin erotic papyrus, decorated pottery, tomb paintings from Merit's burial site, fertility statues, protective amulets, and love poems all point to the same idea. Ancient Egyptians did not avoid the subject of sex. For them, the body and fertility were connected to religion, harvests, spiritual protection, and the invisible forces that kept life moving. 9. Magic in the bedroom. For the ancient Egyptians, intimacy was not only about personal pleasure, it was also connected to spells, fertility, and the protection of the gods. They believed that love and desire could be awakened through fragrances, herbs, rituals, and fertility amulets, and that passion could be influenced by invisible forces. One god often associated with this private space was Bes, a dwarf-like deity with a fierce face. His frightening appearance had a purpose. He was believed to protect pregnant women, newborn babies, and married couples from evil spirits, and his image appeared on amulets, cosmetics, household objects, and ritual items. This shows that for the Egyptians, the bedroom was not simply a place of love. It was also a sacred space where magic could shape desire, childbirth, protection, and life itself. 10. Royal intermarriage to preserve the divine bloodline. Many people assume such marriages were common throughout ancient Egypt, but the truth is more specific. Egyptologists generally agree that sibling marriage was mostly limited to the royal family, inspired by the divine pair Osiris and Isis. Some pharaohs even married their own daughters. Ramesses II, for example, married Princess Meritamen. In 2010, A DNA study published in the medical journal JAMA examined the mummy of Pharaoh Tutankhamun and confirmed that his parents were full siblings. The consequences could be seen in his own body: a club foot, a mild cleft palate, and a weakened immune system, conditions believed to have contributed to his death at around just 19 years old. For the royal family, marriage was not only about love, it was also about power, bloodline, and the risky belief that divine authority had to remain within the same sacred family. Conclusion: ancient Egypt was not an innocent civilization frozen in stone. It was a society that deeply understood the power of love, desire, fertility, and the human body. What makes these stories so fascinating is not simply that they were bolder than us. It is that they were strangely familiar. They wanted to be loved. They feared betrayal. They searched for pleasure, protection, control, and a way to shape their own destiny. Perhaps that is why ancient Egypt never stops feeling mysterious. Not because everything was hidden inside pyramids, but because they left behind traces of the most private parts of human life on papyrus, in terracotta statues, in love poems, in fertility charms, and even in the DNA of a young king. In the next episode, we will open another door into the ancient world where the truth can be even stranger than legend. Subscribe now so you don't miss it.